Breaking news tonight, a D4vd David Burke defense bombshell. Teen girl Celeste wasn't by anyone? Then how does she end up dismembered in D4vd Burke's Tesla? How does that happen? Am I hearing now that no one will be held accountable for this little and dismemberment, much less leaving her out in the hot weather in a car trunk to rot? Myriad of pill bottles belonging here to a myriad of people that were living there in and out and in and out.
Program before says he found something strange, something that could maybe reshape the timeline of this case. During his investigation, Steve Fisher says that he uncovered a Build-A-Bear certificate that was made out to a girl named Esmeralda, dated April 21st, 2024. So that is just 16 days after Celeste was reported missing.
So somebody who actually lives down the street from Celeste's family reached out to me, and I actually got to spoke to him, and I'm going to tell you what they had to tell me. It's kind of terrible. Welcome back. This is Fugitive TV. I'm your host, Ray Marcel, and we're going to give you an update on the David and Celeste case. I made a few videos about it when it very first happened. I dug deep down into it. I kind of let it settle for a little bit because there wasn't a lot of new updates that came out that I can verify, because I like to verify these updates and these facts. Well, since I brought you guys this case and we start talking about it, well, first of all, let me run it down real quick for you guys, just in case somebody out there does not know what's going on. So David was an up-and-coming singer, pretty much like an R&B type of style singer that coming out of Texas. Well, they found his car, well, I should say his Model X Tesla got towed from Hollywood Hills to a tow yard, okay? Once it was there, it was a stink coming from the Tesla. Come to find out, it was a body inside of it. Now, this body belonged to a young woman named Celeste. I say woman, but really she was a girl, because she was only 14 years old at the time that she passed away, okay? Now, so the singer David, he's literally a grown man. I believe he's almost 21 years old, or at 21 years old right now. So people are wondering how this uh girl was found in his car, and not only that, the car was literally parked down the street from his house. Well, since then, the internet went rapid, all kind of stuff. If you look at my old videos, I even dug and I found that they met online. He's been talking to her since she was only 11 years old. That's when he first started talking to her. Now, the family used to report her missing a lot because she was always running away, leaving the house, running away, right? And they would report her missing. Well, the last time, well, when they found her in the Tesla, she was missing, officially missing. But come to find out, she really wasn't missing at all. So, like I told you, I spoke with a neighbor, okay? And they asked me not to release their name, and I'm not going to release their name. They did show me proof that they live down the street. So I asked for proof, and they showed me that. So I'm taking their word for it on this. And I'm also going to use allegedly on some of the stuff too that they're claiming. But there is a private investigator out there named Steve Fisher. I follow him on X, which is formerly known as Twitter.
Steve Fisher. Now, Steve is the private investigator who was hired by the owner of that property, the landlord, where David had been staying. And to be clear, it wasn't David on the lease, it was his manager, but we know that David had been staying there, and that property was close to the Tesla. So, Steve, so good to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us. A lot's happened since the last time we talked. I mean, let's talk about this. You have uncovered something regarding this apparent Six Flags trip. I mentioned it a little bit before, that you found this Build-A-Bear certificate in the name of Esmeralda that was dated.
Which is SF Investigates. He does very good work. Well, when they found her body from the house, from the car was parked down the street from the house, right? Come to find out, the house that David was living in was just the leased house, but he was not the one leasing it. It was David's manager, Josh. He was the one leasing the house, okay? So the landlord didn't know anything about David, but once the landlord found all the stuff out, they reached an agreement and Josh agreed to move out the house. So David went and got his stuff. They all moved out the house. Well, the landlord went and hired a private investigator. That private investigator that he hired is Steve Fisher. So Steve Fisher went and started doing what he does best, investigating, okay? So he went into the house. He found items that was left behind from the movers because I guess they didn't grab everything. Some items he found is very, I should say, could be linked to the case. Some items were prescription pill bottles, okay? Prescription pill bottles were found. Now, some people were asking if Celeste, if somebody unalived her, or maybe it was a case of an OD and they were trying to, let's say, hide her body.
Myriad of pill bottles belonging here to a myriad of people that were living there in and out and in and out. Based on those pill bottles and so far a lack of a COD, cause of death, does this mean no one will answer up for teen girl deep in a hot car trunk? Listen.
Bottles of prescription pain medication and paraphernalia are recovered inside the home, not by LAPD, but by Steve Fisher. The LAPD did not publicly disclose finding prescription drugs or drug paraphernalia. Other people were staying there as well, men and women. Their personal belongings in guest bedrooms, bathroom cabinets, and bedside tables. A neighbor reported seeing Celeste sitting on the curb in front of the house as if she was waiting for someone to let her inside.
So to this day, they don't know what it was because she was in the car so long in the middle of the heat that she pretty much cooked inside of the car and they couldn't do a decent autopsy on her. Well, right now they're still waiting for the toxicology report, which should be out any minute, but we've been waiting for a long time on that. For some reason, it's not. Nobody's been arrested, no nothing. We can't understand that because if somebody got found in my car, I would be in jail, just like the same thing with you, right? Well, he went to his house, he found items. Some were prescription pill bottles. Now, these prescription pill bottles, some people are wondering, did Celeste take any of these pills and maybe OD, all right? He also found, which is a key piece of evidence, which lines up to what one of the friends told me that which lived down the street. Now, Celeste was reported missing, okay? February, I believe it was February 2024. I think it was. You guys get correct me if I'm right. It's been a long time. I have to go back and look. Can't remember if it was 24 or 25, but it was February, okay? So there's posters and everything. So when she was reported missing, there's evidence of her going back to the house. There's video footage of her arguing with her neighbors because the neighbors are playing ding dong ditch and ringing on her doorbell. So she went to the neighbor's house, started arguing with the neighbors, and it's caught on video. And this is after she was reported missing, okay? There's evidence of her at a family get-together on video that was after she was reported missing. And now Steve Fisher found evidence of her going to Six Flags, which is an amusement park that's out in California, going to Six Flags and getting a Build-A-Bear done because they give you that certificate. If you go to Build-A-Bear, you get, you get to name your Build-A-Bear, what it is, and then at the bottom it shows, who signed off, paid for it. It just shows you all that, right? But on a certificate, it shows Celeste's cousin.
I believe April 21st, so this is just about, 16 days after Celeste was reported missing, that David had apparently posted a TikTok at a roller coaster on the same day. What is this? If I got anything wrong, please let me know, but what does this detail suggest to you?
No, so that's right. So, he posted that TikTok, and it can, match that up to where it's a roller coaster called Scream at Six Flags. And Six Flags has a Build-A-Bear, a shop there, and they have at different theme parks. They have Knott's and whatnot, and I know some people are confused about that, but he was at Six Flags that day, and at the house, which is, I think, the important part that some people are losing sight of, is that we found the certificate at David's house, and it's in the name Esmeralda, and it's dated the same day, the 21st, that he was at Six Flags, and and then just a few days later, Celeste is photographed at Esmeralda's high school graduation. And this is all during the time that Celeste is reported as a missing person.
All right. Her cousin, Esmeralda. Esmeralda, I don't know if you know this, Esmeralda started a GoFundMe for the family. The goal was, I think, $28,000. It's almost there. To raise funeral expenses for Celeste and things like that, where the goal is almost there. But anyway, she started a GoFundMe. Come to find out, allegedly, she's over here at Magic Mountain with Celeste getting a Build-A-Bear. Now, you might be like, why? Who cares? You know who else was at Magic Mountain that day that posted on their TikTok but took it down? David. David was also at Magic Mountain that day. He posted it on his TikTok going down a roller coaster, all right? And not only that, we know all three of them know each other and hung out together because he also discovered that Celeste went to Esmeralda's graduation party, which I guess was out in Vegas somewhere. And they were out in Vegas, all three of them. David was there too. David had a performance that night in Vegas. Now, during the day, she was reported missing. One final last time, Celeste was with David and her cousin Esmeralda. Joined her according to private investigator Steve Fisher. Now, Steve Fisher believes David and Celeste were in the same place during the day she was believed to be missing. Celeste was also at Esmeralda's graduation. A photo of the two from 2023, when Hernandez was just 13 at the time, was in Las Vegas. Was recovered by Steve Fisher, who discovered David was performing in the city at the exact same time. I think there were adult family members there as well, he added, and they should have notified law enforcement that Celeste has been located. And then they intervene and find out what's going on, but that did not happen. Esmeralda Lozano is also one of the organizers of the GoFundMe campaign set up by Celeste's family. And so there's a proof of Esmeralda, Celeste, and David pretty much hanging out together. And this is while Celeste was missing. So by law, if your child's missing and you find them, you're supposed to tell the authorities, hey, my child's been found. That's what you're supposed to tell the authorities. Well, these people never told the authorities. All right, so this is from Steve Fisher Investigates, SF Investigates. Um, he's the one that went and found a Build-A-Bear certificate, and he's the one that was hired by the landlord. Well, this is what he says. Celeste Rivas was last reported missing on April 5th, 2024, at the home where David was staying. I found a certificate in the name of Esmeralda from Build-A-Bear, dated April 21st, 2024, just 16 days after Celeste was reported missing. Also on April 21st, 2024, David posted a TikTok video on a roller coaster that appears to have filmed at Six Flags. There is a Build-A-Bear located at Six Flags. Common sense tells us Celeste was there and that she likely invited Esmeralda. Six Flags requires a chaperone, 21 years or older for any guest under 15 years age. So the questions are, was anyone else there? How open was this relationship with David to the family? Why wasn't law enforcement notified that Celeste was no longer missing? Why wasn't she in school? And if she was refusing to comply, why weren't school administrators or school police professionals trained to handle these situations notified? Celeste was only 13 years old at this time. She had been a teenager for just 6 months. Let that sink in. She had just became a teenager and was allowed to stay out of school and be in a relationship with a grown adult man. Not only that, Celeste dropped out of school 7th grade to pretty much go be with David. Now, Steve Fisher found that out, but not only that, the neighbor that I spoke with also told me the same thing. See, the neighbor I spoke with also has a kid that is the same age as Celeste and also went to the same school. They knew each other. What the neighbor's telling me is that Celeste was frequently always running away, always leaving school. She always was doing this to pretty much the mom and whoever else was in the house. They tried at first, I guess, to like keep her in the house. You know, they tried, and then after a while they just kind of, I guess, gave up. Like, you just do what you want to do. You pretty much can run the street, just go ahead and do what you want to do. Pretty much is what the neighbor told me. Now, which makes sense because Steve Fisher also spoke with another neighbor. That neighbor said that when Celeste went missing, Celeste's family was telling the people who live on the street, hey, don't worry. You don't have to go worry about looking for Celeste. You don't have to worry about looking for Celeste. Don't worry about that. Even though she's missing, they were telling her that. Person I spoke to, all right, they said that, remember, their kid went to school with Celeste. Person I spoke to said that their child spoke with them and said they know where Celeste is. Celeste is pretty much hanging out with David. The whole school knew that David and Celeste are together. Now, here's a key factor. Remember, I told you about the house. Now, what Steve Fisher is saying that maybe it didn't take place at the house. Maybe it took place at a second location. So David was renting out a second location, which was an apartment. If you go back and you look at some of the live streams of David and Celeste, because they did live streams together. Yes, they did. Even though he's a grown man and she's a child, they did live streams together, okay? Well, there's a particular live stream where they're in front of a kitchen. And it's funny because I was looking at pictures of the big house in Hollywood Hills. It's on Zillow. I could not find pictures that matched that kitchen in that house. Come to find out, the pictures, or I should say the video stream of that kitchen, was because they were doing it inside the second location. They were doing it inside the apartment. And they say maybe Celeste spent a lot of her time at that apartment. Now, he also got evidence and figured out who was the last person that drove the Tesla. Now, supposedly it wasn't David. It was supposedly somebody else who drove the Tesla and dropped the Tesla off down the street because a couple people had access to that. Now, the internet's running wild and speculations is going crazy. Now, some people are thinking that David had an alleged bisexual relationship with a friend of his who is also a so-called music producer or a producer or whatever you want to call him, okay?
So does that give you a time of when she may have been alive?
Well, yeah. So, this is going back, a year, but this is right after she went missing. So we've all been under the impression that she's been gone, over a year. But there's these times that we're now finding out, well, was she missing, or was she a missing person? So the family or whoever would get in trouble for her not being in school, or there would be a CPS report, investigation opened right away. It appears that they knew where she was at, and she showed up at graduation. She's showed up now at the Six Flags along with a cousin, and then she shows up in September arguing with neighbors at her own home. So and the family has a responsibility to report that to law enforcement. If you have an open missing persons case on a minor, if you have any contact with them, you gotta report that.
And was this information that has just recently been discovered by you? Is this something that you believe the family or law enforcement knew beforehand?
I don't know if, so we discovered it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I guess, not long after the search warrant took place. But I don't know if they really had reason, I don't know what the scope of that search warrant even was. So I don't know if it's something that they would have been looking for or they've been after. They know that we know about it. I don't know if it's of any value to their investigation. I don't know if they're even investigating, or if they even care if people knew that Celeste really wasn't a missing person. I just think it's important for the overall story, to be told that, there were people that knew, and possibly people that could have intervened in this situation.
And to be clear, has this detail, given you a better understanding of what the possible relationship is or was between David and Celeste? Does it give you a time frame of maybe when they had last spoke or last had contact, if that's at all what's going on?
Well, last spoke or contact, it doesn't really help with that. So far, the last that I have proof of is January 2nd. Now, that's what I have proof of. I don't know what LAPD has. I don't know what some of her friends might have text messages from her, but what I have is January 2nd. But I think what it does show is that there was a relationship. They were doing things, social things.
And the person that's involved with this one is supposed to be a person named Neo the Asian. All right. They have pictures together. Not only that, There's also a recording of him and David and Celeste on a three-way call together.
Neo, I seen a screenshot that look, yeah, this one, bro. This one. So they're on a if I'm not wrong, a three-way call on FaceTime with the 15-year-old, his mans, and him. So surely a little bit, you know? Like surely the nigga knew something. He had to know something was going on, right? I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying. Like, ain't no way you in that FaceTime with your eyes closed or something, bro. Like, I know you can deny it. I know you can deny it, bro, but I don't.
Now, you might think to yourself that he know that Celeste was underage. Well, supposedly they were hanging out together. The person I spoke to says that she used to leave the house, walk around the corner, and David would pick her up from around the corner. Person I spoke to also said sometimes it might not even been David picking her up. It could have been somebody else picking her up around the corner, not just David. If David was too busy, somebody else could have been sent to pick her up. He also has been to the house a couple times, not just once, a couple times. And then we all know that the mother said she knew that she was dating a guy named David. There was evidence also that he was paying kids in that neighborhood to basically keep quiet, not to tell media what was going on because she's underage. Not only that, the friend, or I should say the neighbor, all right, the neighbor also said that they believe that David allegedly was pretty much given the family benefits, as in like he had a concert where you guys can come to the concert. He's got a party, you guys can come to the party. Allegedly, Celeste has brought a couple family members to a couple of David's parties, not just one, a couple of his parties. And this is what they told me. And I believe him. It makes sense. It makes sense. Celeste's family has not made a big outrage. They have not been on the news. They have not really said much of anything that they believe David should be locked up. Think about this. If it was your kid, right? And your kid was really missing, you didn't know where they're at, and this happened to your kid, what would you be doing? Would you be out there, would you be trying to make a fuss like, why is this person now locked up? Would you be trying to make people aware of this? Or would you be quiet and, still go on social media and just post like a regular thing? Because that's what some of them are doing. So it just makes you think. But I wanted to give you guys this update of, what I found. I know it's been a while, but like I said, I wanted to make sure that things lined up before I tell you guys anything else.
She was out of school. She was on, she had dropped out. She was, I think, 7th grade. This is, as far as I'm concerned, this is really serious stuff. And I think it's sad that it was allowed to continue. And that's, I don't know why it was allowed to continue, but it was. And I think people knew where she was at. And it also makes me think that as soon as the news came out that a body had been found in David's Tesla, I think that family probably knew exactly who it was right away.
Now, there was another name that was involved in this story, which was the name of a person named Gus. Celeste supposedly knew a person named Gus because in some text messages with her and her friend, which were released, they were talking about a guy named Gus that she used to date. Yeah, I know, weird. She was like 12, 13 years old, but used to date a person named Gus. And then her brother was texting somebody and they brought up the name Gus and they said he passed away. Come to find out that Gus did pass away. Now, that Gus was, he got in trouble. I believe it was a robbery or something like that. He got in trouble for a robbery, got locked up. Now, I don't remember if he was, I think, bonded out. And while he was on bond, he ended up getting unalived. So that's what happened with him. So he's pretty much out the picture, and we don't know. We can't get anything from his story or anything like that. We don't know if it was during David, before. We don't know because he's no longer here anymore, okay? My condolences go out to him and his family. My condolences also go out to Celeste's family because she did not deserve to go, okay? No matter what happened, I'm pretty sure that they did not want to find their cousin or their daughter or anything like that like this, all right? But we got to do better, people. We got to do better, because what I'm finding out is that she was pretty much allowed to do a lot of the things she did. She was allowed to run these streets. She was allowed to go to these parties, and she was accompanied by family members. And not only that, Six Flags, you had to have, if you were under the age of 21, you had to have a chaperone. David wasn't even 21 himself. So who chaperoned these people? The only thing I can think about is because of David's status. Maybe he got special access to get into Six Flags. Maybe, but Esmeralda was there, her cousin. So who else was there? Was any of her other family members there? Because I heard through the grapevine that sometimes her sister would be with her at parties too, which this all adds up. But anyways, if you guys know anything else, let me know in the comments below. If you guys been here from day one when I first started following David, let me know. If you just figuring out what the hell is going on here, put it in the comments, all right? Please like, subscribe, share, contact me anytime you want with any information with any of these cases. I keep everybody's name private. I don't leak out none of your information. I don't care if you did it, you didn't, your witnesses, whatever it is. I'll keep your information private. Even if you want to come on and do an interview, a phone interview, anything you want to do, just let me know. Fugitive TV, talk to you next time. Be safe out there. I'm out.